Hey, good morning folks. Welcome back. Today we're going to be going up to greenhouse number 2 and we're going to be working on building our trellising system for our cucumbers. It's been raining the past few days. It's kind of crappy over the weekend, so we didn't really do a whole lot, but we want to get those cucumbers, we want to get the trellis built so we can start training the cucumbers to grow up the trellis, and we'll show you how to do that. Before we go up front, I wanted to bring you back here in the germination room and show you guys all the plants we seeded the other day. It's been a couple videos ago, but they are all up. They look phenomenal. We actually had a much better germination rate this time around as opposed to last time. So yeah, they're all looking good. These are all of our cucumbers that we're going to be planting for our second planting of cucumbers. This is up here we have our zucchini. And over in the corner, this coming up is our squash. This tray here, actually I just seeded this the other day because I ran out of squash seed and had to go get some more. These are also cantaloupes, and then on the end here, these are, just a focus, sorry, these are watermelon as well. I was actually told that they're much harder to germinate, but looks like we've got a pretty good stand. There's still guys it's coming up, so I don't know if it'll be 100% stand, but it's going to be a pretty good one. I actually went and picked up some pepper plants yesterday, and for some reason our peppers didn't germinate at all. So as opposed to trying to seed more and get them ready in time, I just went and picked up some plants, and so we're going to plant those. And also picked up some peach trees. We've actually had in our mind for a long time that we wanted to put a lot of peach trees out, actually to kind of have like a U-pick peach tree area. But I mean, that's a little bit further down the line, but I actually went to Tractor Supply and I saw some pretty good looking peach trees for like 40 bucks a piece. And I thought we'd just put 4 out, and just maybe to have some, nothing else to eat on ourselves, but sell any excess at the market. But now we're gonna head up front and get at it. All right, so what we got going on for building these trellises is we've got these 2x6s here that we're going to attach to these posts on the inside of the greenhouse, running across. And then we've got these big leftover pipes from all the greenhouse stuff that we are actually going to run this way down the greenhouse. Now that is going to cut out some headroom in here, but you know, they're not going to be permanent. We can take these 2x6s in and out. We can take all this stuff in and out at the end of the year. But basically the purpose of this is once we get the pipe running over top the row, we've got some grow twine. It's basically the same type of twine we use to stake tomatoes, and those little stakes that we use to stake the fabric down. So we'll tie the string to that, throw it over top of the pipe, then we will stake the string down on both sides of the plant, and the string will run basically kind of like this, and then we can take the plant and kind of wrap it in the string. These little feelers and stuff on the cucumbers will actually attach to their string, and every so often, maybe every once a week or so, or something like that, we'll have to come in here and just make sure that they're growing up the string. It'll all make sense once you see it, once we get it up and start getting it together. But one of the main reasons we do this is, for one, just for harvest. It just makes it a lot easier. Instead of bending over and trying to pick cucumbers, you can just basically stand up and pick cucumbers. For two, they're not laying on the ground, and you won't get like the yellow belly on your cucumbers and stuff like that. So the quality of the produce is going to be better. It's going to be easier to harvest, and by using a trellis system like that, we can also increase our plant population. So in here we actually planted these like 12 inches apart. Looking back, we probably could have made these rows closer together. Since we're doing that, we may do that next year. Again, this is the first year we're doing this, so you know, we're gonna see how this works out, and then we can make improvements from there. But we're gonna go ahead and get started on cutting these boards. Now I'm gonna get some, go find some more materials that we need, and we'll get at it. What are you doing, little buddy? You doing some, yeah, you doing some pollinating? Or you just can't find your way out of here? Is that what it is? I'll have to open up the side curtain for him. Maybe it's starting to make sense now how we're doing this. Now we got to center these pipes up over top the row, and normally you might be able to measure, but since these outs or the tops are pushed out just a little bit because of the bows, some of them might be pulled in a little bit. Be hard to get an accurate measurement and get these straight where they need to be. So to try to get these pipes straight over the row, see I got my string line here. I just tied it to one of the stakes, and we just let that kind of hover over the middle of the row, and that's what we use to make sure the pipe is straight over the row, because that's more important than it actually being straight. I mean, if you look back, this pipe's out just a little bit. That's because we got off on our row here a little bit when we were burning the holes because of the drip tape. But again, it's more important to have this pipe here over top of your row, and then we just again fasten them in with a screw on these little clamps. You know, basically all this is doing is just keeping the pipe moving, rolling around and moving. Once we get the strings down and attached to the ground around the cucumbers, when the cucumbers start growing up the string and producing fruit, it's going to pull, you know, weight down on this bar. But I believe, you know, this is going to be pretty sturdy and work out well. Now, if it got super heavy and we needed to, we could always come back and put a 2x4 like in the middle somewhere just to help support it. But I think this is going to be strong and work out really well. Corey's up there. He's building the trellises now, putting the string on. I'll show you that in just a second. I'm gonna come down here. I need to start getting the stakes and stuff ready for greenhouse #1. So I'm gonna pick them up, take them back up there so I can get started on that, and maybe tidy up some of this mess. Yeah, we'll check on the progress Corey's making here. Oh yeah. Ain't that pretty? And as you can see here, we got this guy. Corey's already kind of wrapped him around there and training him to grow up. So, you know, these cucumbers will grow, you know, up to this bar, you know, even higher. So pretty slick.
So we got a couple different types of stakes, but they're basically just kind of like ground stakes that we use to punch through this fabric, hold the fabric down. But what we're going to do is just tie one end around here, just use a hard knot, and then pitch him over. And drive one end into the ground. And make sure it's nice and deep. Start your other one just to try to, before you tie it off, get it down in the ground. About like that there. Tie you another hard knot. And then just go ahead and knock it on in the ground. And it'll tighten that string up. You don't want it super tight, but I mean, I don't know if we could play the fiddle on that, but it's pretty tight. Just gotta be careful wrapping them around. Looks like a big musical instrument. Alright, we're gonna go over here to greenhouse number 2 or 1. Alright, so we got our metal T-post laid out here. I think it's going to take 9 if I added correctly, which is suspect. But basically we're going to put metal T-posts every 4 plants. So we're going to put one up there, and then 4 plants down we'll put another one. Be very careful, make sure you don't hit your drip tape when you're doing this. I'm actually going to, I got the torch here. I'm probably going to use the torch just to burn a little hole in there, because again, that fabric is pretty tough. Then we'll use the post pounder 3000 there just to drive them in the ground. Now we're using, I believe these are 5-foot metal T-post. We'll drive a foot in the ground. You can use 6-7 foot T-post if you want to. It's up to you. Just these work well for us, and you know, they're a little less expensive because they're a little shorter. There are a couple different ways that you can do this. We actually stake our field tomatoes a little bit differently. We use wooden stakes on the field tomatoes, but when we're using the wooden stakes, we do every 2 plants. So we'll drive a post, count 2 plants, put another post. So there's a lot more posts, and but they're not as sturdy as these metal T-posts, and that's the reason we're using these in the greenhouse. And to be a little more cost effective, we're putting them every 4 plants instead of every 2. You know, our plan here is like to really put the fertilizer and stuff to these tomatoes so that they, you know, grow a lot, produce a lot of tomatoes. So by doing that, they're going to be heavier. Hence is why we're using the metal T-post. Alright, so we got all the posts driven into the ground, but now we're going on to the part where we're actually running the string for our tomatoes. This is the string we're using. It's grow tie twine. I actually got this from Haas Tools. There's a website there, I guess you could get it from too. But this little box has got actually these holes in it so you can put it in your belt loop. And then we just pull the twine out. And I've got this fancy piece of PVC pipe. We just run it down that pipe, and then we'll tie it off on one of these posts, and then we will kind of weave in and out of all the other posts. I believe it's commonly known as the Florida weave method. We're kind of doing a hybrid method to the Florida weave, because we're going to be going on one side of the plant to the post, and then on the other side. And so basically we're going to be kind of sandwiching 4 plants. The string's going to ride on both sides of the plant to try to hold it up. I believe the actual Florida weave method, you know, you put a post every 2 plants, and you weave actually in and out of the plants. And that's actually kind of like what we do with the field tomatoes. But in here, I think since our posts are a lot more sturdy, we can do it that way and get by with, you know, dealing with a lot less string. It's really nice to stake tomatoes like this and to keep them upright, keep them off the ground, because once they get heavy, you know, they want to topple over, especially when they get fruit growing on them. But the string, I mean, it's a lot to clean up, and if you're not careful and don't get all of it, I mean, it can get everywhere. It'll stay in the field. We planted tomatoes over at the farm in Kentucky a few years ago, and I'm still, like, I'll be cultivating the field with the field cultivator in the spot where we grew tomatoes and still pull up string every day. So it's important if you're going to do this method, just to keep that in mind. It is a lot to clean up at the end of the year, and make sure you get all your string. So I've run the string through this piece of PVC, as you can see here. So we're just going to start out, about I don't know, 5 inches or so, 3 inches off the ground, because these tomatoes still are a little on the small side. Just tie a knot. So I've got this on my hip, looped in my belt. You got that kind of tight. You want to kind of hold it tight. And some of these guys, especially the first time you're doing this, you might have to help them and reach down and pick them up. But we're just going to go down through here, and then once you get to your post, you're going to pull it tight and wrap it around. So we're going to do that all the way down through the greenhouse, and when we come back, we will be on the other side of the plant. Like so. And we'll come back all the way back here, wrap around, and then tie it off. So kind of as you can see here, the plant is kind of sandwiched in between the two strings, the one on each side. And that one there isn't yet, but he needs to grow up a little bit, and we'll put him in between there. But that just kind of gives you an idea of what we're doing. And again, by doing this, it's going to keep the tomatoes growing upright, not laying on the ground, and not breaking over once they get a bunch of fruit growing on them. There you have it. Tomatoes are staked. Well, still got one row we got to finish up over in greenhouse number 2. But one thing I'll say, like a lot of these tomato plants that we planted in here were they were pretty mature when we planted them. They should have been planted a long time ago, so they started getting crooked and that kind of thing. You can, kind of see that guy there, how his stem is crooked. So it makes it really difficult to stake tomatoes like this when they're like that, and a lot of times you'll have to go back through and kind of help them out and pull them up through the string. But these other tomato plants that we planted were not as far along, and they were pretty straight up. They're pretty easy to trellis this way, or stake this way, however you want to call it, when they're standing straight up. So basically my advice was to do it sooner than later. That way it's just easier all around, and it makes it a lot easier when you're doing it. Alright, doing a little watering. Brought the plants in that got the other day. These are the peppers. We're going to be probably planting them Thursday, as well as the tomatoes in the basement. And then we're going to be planting these onions actually tomorrow. Probably not going to go crazy on planting because there's still some cold weather in the forecast, but those tomatoes are hurting pretty bad. Probably going to plant at least a row or two of field tomatoes out there in the field now that we've got all this stuff in here buttoned up. And then we're going to plant one row of peppers. Got the trellis in greenhouse number 2, got all that done. Looking good. Corey spent most of the day on this. It's not hard, it's just tedious and time consuming. So that's going to wrap up this video, folks. I hope you all found it useful and informative if you're building a trellis system for cucumbers in your greenhouse or staking tomatoes in your greenhouse. That's, you know, kind of one of our main goals is to pass on tips and tricks for you guys, you know, doing this at home. So also, folks, if you haven't liked and subscribed yet, please do so. We sure do appreciate it. It really helps us out. And until next time, we'll see you soon. Bye.